Walk through any major airport parking lot in Dubai today, and you will find them. Ferraris gathering dust beside abandoned Bentleys, Lamborghinis left with the keys still dangling from the ignition. These are not stolen cars or forgotten rentals. They belong to people who simply walked away. More than 25,000 luxury vehicles are currently sitting unclaimed across Dubai and the surrounding Emirates, representing an estimated £3.5 billion in assets that nobody is coming back for. In a single quarter, new supercar sales collapsed by 92%. Showrooms that were once moving $500 million worth of exotic metal every year now stand completely empty, their polished floors reflecting nothing but fluorescent light and silence. What was once the most glamorous automotive market on the planet has quietly become one of the most catastrophic financial unravelings in modern urban history. To understand how it all came apart, you have to understand why it was built the way it was in the first place. Dubai's relationship with luxury cars was never just about transportation. It was about identity, about belonging to a world that most people could only watch from the outside. By the early 2020s, the city had quietly become the most concentrated supercar market on Earth, with more Ferraris and Lamborghinis per capita than almost anywhere else in the world. Social media turned the streets into a permanent runway. A gold-wrapped Lamborghini pulling into a hotel valet was not unusual. It was expected. Instagram feeds overflowed with images of supercars lined up along the Palm. TikTok accounts dedicated entirely to Dubai car culture pulled millions of views, and hashtags like Dubai Supercar trended globally week after week. Car meets at the marina drew hundreds of expatriates every weekend, not just to admire machinery, but to be seen admiring it. Mid-level professionals who would never have considered themselves supercar buyers were suddenly sitting behind the wheel of a Porsche 911 or a Lamborghini Urus, convinced the numbers added up. For a while, they genuinely did. In 2023 alone, Dubai recorded nearly 260,000 new vehicle registrations, surpassing even pre-pandemic highs. The luxury segment was valued at over $440 million, with analysts forecasting steady compound growth well into the decade ahead. Showrooms like the one run by Ahmed could not move stock fast enough. Buyers were calling before shipments even cleared customs. Waiting lists stretched months into the following model year. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, and Rolls-Royce dominated the conversation, with dealers speaking almost exclusively in the language of scarcity. Every limited edition, every bespoke order, every special allocation gone before it arrived. In Ahmed's office, stacks of finance agreements told the story of a market running at absolute full throttle. Nobody in the industry was thinking seriously about what happened if the music stopped. The confidence was total, visible in every handshake, every delivery ceremony, every record month posted on the board. Then came February 28, 2026, and everything changed in a single day. Nearly 900 coordinated airstrikes hit Iranian military and energy infrastructure simultaneously. The Strait of Hormuz, through which a vast portion of the world's oil supply passes every single day, was shut down to commercial shipping within hours. Global energy markets seized almost instantly. Oil prices surged by 150% within days. Insurance companies, suddenly confronted with the full weight of regional exposure they had been quietly underpricing for years, withdrew coverage for high-value vehicles almost overnight. Premiums on luxury cars tripled in a matter of weeks. For tens of thousands of expatriates already stretched thin across multi-year car loans, the financial mathematics became impossible almost immediately. The legal situation compounded everything and made escape routes disappear one by one. Under UA law, a person cannot legally sell a vehicle that still carries outstanding finance without the lender's formal consent, a process that takes time that many people simply did not have. Defaulting on a loan in Dubai does not merely damage your credit rating. It can trigger an arrest warrant, a travel ban preventing you from leaving the country, and in serious cases, criminal prosecution and imprisonment. For expatriates suddenly facing redundancy notices, visa rejections, and the collapse of the employment that had made their entire lifestyle possible, the choice became brutally simple and brutally unfair: stay and face the legal machinery closing around you, or leave the country immediately and abandon everything that could not fit in a suitcase. Thousands chose to leave. Cars were abandoned at airports, in multi-story parking structures, at roadsides, in shopping mall car parks. Some owners did not bother to close the windows. Some left personal belongings on the back seat. The keys were still in the ignition. Layla was one of those people. She had signed for a Porsche Cayenne in 2022, a £110,000 loan spread across 7 years with nothing required up front. For years, the payments felt routine, just another line in a comfortable monthly budget built on a steady salary, and the quiet confidence that Dubai rewarded those who showed up and worked hard. Then, her employer downsized without warning, her visa renewal was rejected, and the structured world she had been living inside simply collapsed around her in a matter of weeks. Crossed £2 billion. Repossessed vehicles flooded impound yards and auction houses, but the auctions offered almost no financial relief. Used values had cratered by up to 65%, meaning lenders were recovering pennies on every pound originally lent. Every unclaimed Ferrari sitting in a lot somewhere was a direct and compounding hit to a balance sheet, and the hits were arriving faster than any institution could absorb or manage. Out in the impound yards of Sharjah, the physical reality of all this is deeply unsettling to witness. Rows of once immaculate supercars sit motionless in the desert heat, tires half buried in drifting sand, paintwork bleached and cracked by months of relentless exposure, pools of oil and coolant spreading slowly into the ground beneath corroded undercarriages. Emergency response teams have formally flagged entire sections of these lots as environmental hazard zones. Batteries from abandoned electric Porsches and Teslas are corroding at an accelerating rate, raising serious concerns about chemical fires that could devastate entire rows of vehicles in hours. 3 of the region's major automotive parts distributors have already declared bankruptcy, creating supply shortages so severe that mechanics across the city are now waiting months for components that may never arrive. The secondary economy that once thrived in the shadow of the supercar boom, the detailers, the wrap artists, the specialist mechanics, the insurance brokers, the finance advisors, has been gutted almost completely. The human cost runs alongside the financial one in ways that rarely make headlines. 18,000 jobs vanished across the automotive sector in just a few weeks as dealerships shed staff at a speed that had no precedent in the industry's history. Service centers that once operated around the clock on high-margin repairs and custom modifications reported revenue collapses of 70%. Across the city, roughly 12% of defaulting expatriates remain trapped in a legal limbo that has no clean exit, travel bans preventing departure, while frozen assets prevent resolution, leaving people stranded in a country where they can no longer afford to live and can no longer legally leave. Beyond Dubai's borders, the competitive map is already being redrawn. Abu Dhabi has quietly recorded a 12% rise in luxury vehicle registrations since early 2026. Riyadh and Jeddah have opened dedicated supercar districts, actively drawing major brands and wealthy buyers southward. The cultural conversation has shifted too. The hashtag that once defined Dubai's global car culture identity has collapsed by 68% from its peak engagement, replaced by content from rival cities that now carry the energy Dubai used to own entirely. What sits in those impound lots and airport parking structures today is not simply a collection of expensive abandoned vehicles slowly being consumed by heat and neglect. It is a precise and legible record of what happens when an entire city builds its identity on borrowed money, borrowed confidence, and the assumption that the conditions enabling both will never change. Every sand-covered Lamborghini, every corroding Ferrari, every empty showroom floor is a chapter in the same story. One about the distance between how a place presents itself to the world and what is actually holding it together underneath. The real question now is not whether the system is broken. The question is whether the people responsible for rebuilding it are paying close enough attention to what the wreckage is telling them.